Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Now, we are here to talk about the one, the only Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Now, everybody Jesse Rodriguez has fought, and I mean, he's fought some dogs. He's fought some elite competition. He's destroyed them all. He's wiped them all out. However, could this be the guy that upsets Jesse Bam Rodriguez? It seems like we're waiting for him to meet his match, you know? And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this guy's a good fighter, but could this be the guy to defeat Jesse Rodriguez? I'm not gonna lie to you. What if I told y'all he has the tools to do it? But the question is, can he do it against somebody as elite as Jesse Rodriguez? Jesse Rodriguez versus Phumelela Cafu for the WBC, the WBO, and the Ring Magazine Championship. Now, this is a very interesting fight because Jesse Rodriguez, after this fight, already got a fight set up against Fernando Martinez. And with that being said, Jesse Rodriguez is trying to have two unification bouts back to back. And I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. It seems like every single time we turn around, Jesse Rodriguez, we got to remember, he's only 25 years old. And this guy is already trying to create a Hall of Fame resume. Now, he is going to be fighting Cafu on the same day as all these other super fights that are happening on July 19th. It's going to be at the Ford Center in Frisco, Texas. Now, as I've said before, when we have all these big boxing events coming on at the same exact day or the same exact weekend, I can't do this alone. Now, last two episodes, I had Anthony on the podcast, and that was a new face. He did a great job. However, again, y'all don't want to keep on hearing me talk. So I thought, since we brought in a new face, we got to bring in a familiar face. And this is the most familiar face that y'all can get besides myself. Ladies and gentlemen, co-founder of The Puncher's Point and former co-host of The Puncher's Point, Breezy's back with us. Breezy, take it away.
What's good, guys? It's good to be back, man. I'm still the same me, ready to get these breakdowns and these predictions down. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me back.
Welcome back anytime, man. Now, with that being said, we have talked about Jesse Bam Rodriguez before, and I got to take y'all back in time because the first time we decided to cover Jesse Bam Rodriguez, I actually picked Sonny Edwards to defeat him. And that blew up in my face. I mean, I had egg on my face because who Jesse Rodriguez, that was a beautiful fight by those two, I want to say. But again, Jesse Rodriguez came out on top, and then from that day on, I was always told never to bet against Jesse Rodriguez ever again. I mean, this guy, he's at worst fringe top five pound for pound, and I was texting Breezy about how nasty Jesse Rodriguez is. I mean, he seems like the most complete fighter in boxing today, and I can already tell that come 10 years, 15 years down the line, if it gets that long, that if Jesse Rodriguez, once his career is over, we're going to look back at his highlights and we're going to know that he's the most electrifying man in boxing history. I mean, this guy, it just seems like he can do everything. And I wouldn't be surprised because he does have the potential for it. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if he's the number one pound for pound fighter. But obviously, that's ways ahead, and we got to start talking about him versus Cafu. So, with that being said, we're going to start off with Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Breezy, your strengths for Jesse Bam Rodriguez, and overall, how do you see these strengths playing out, and how do you see them basically working in Jesse Rodriguez's favor against somebody like Cafu?
Jesse Ben Rodriguez has extremely fast hands. He has a very slick, manipulative way of getting in the inside and cutting that ring off. And one thing I've noticed about Ben Rodriguez is that he tends to throw a lot of body shots. And if we know anything in boxing, body shots weaken the pump is down. When those body shots start taking a toll on you, they start slowing down. And thing about it is, too, he doesn't get enough credit for how much he's able to be very versatile in the inside. And I think that's one of the most key attributes to his games because that's what's giving us these most iconic knockouts. K. Shaw, remember, he had that most iconic picture where the guy was laying on the canvas holding his stomach and he was just sitting there smiling, standing up, which we could consider one of the greatest pitches classified as a knockout. So,
and that was against Juan Estrada, who was a pretty well established, pretty respectable champion at that time. And I mean, it's one of the coldest photos in boxing history. But sorry to cut you off. I'm gonna let you continue.
oh no, you good, man. But as we've shown and as he's shown, he has very much grown, and you can see the growth, and you can see that he's applying a lot of pressure to these fighters. Now, the thing about it is, Ben Rodriguez, he has power in both of his hands. Some fighters typically have, power in one hand, just the right, just sometimes just the left. but Bam can hit you with any shot at any given time, and he can put you down. Ben Rodriguez is also a counterpuncher. When you're fighting Ben Rodriguez, you have to be very calculated on what you're throwing your shots and where you're throwing them at. Because one thing I've seen is that a lot of fighters, and of course, Ben Rodriguez he's been knocked down, he's been clipped before, which is part of the game of boxing. But a lot of the times when he has that guard and he drops down, just know he's coming up to that body. And when he comes up to that body, a lot of the times the fighters duck in. And when they do that, they don't understand that the uppercut is just a slight bit away from touching. And when he lands that uppercut, that usually seals the deal. That puts the hammer on the head. It's not really too many weaknesses you can touch up on Ben Rodriguez because, like I say, he's a very polished fighter. One thing I will say is when he gets aggressive at times, he does get aggressive to the point where he takes shots. And I think that's sometimes where that could lead to him maybe getting caught with certain shots. But it's not too bad to a degree where it happens almost every time he gets aggressive. Because, of course, when he gets the fighter hurt, he does apply a little bit more pressure and he does tend to throw those punches just a little bit more position and speed that he does, rather than he's just trying to figure them out. So after a while, he figured them out. He tends to throw those punches faster, and he's looking to connect more, and he's sitting down those punches, and he's countering them. So really, all I would say for weakness is just be careful in those exchanges because you can still get clipped and you can still be hit with a shot. Other than that, though, Ben Rodriguez has shown that he's a very talented, skilled fighter.
1,000%. You touched up on about half the strengths I had. I will say, as dangerous as he is on the inside, he's just as dangerous on the outside. That's what makes him such a complete fighter. Is some guys, you have to work to the inside in order to beat them, or you have to work to the outside to beat them. You ain't gonna do that with Jesse Rodriguez. He will beat you on the inside and the outside. Whichever way you want to fight him, he is going to be that dominant. And he reminds me of some guys like Shakur or like a Tank Davis in that way where he could beat you any way he wants to. He could make it a dogfight and he could beat you that way. We saw that with Sonny Edwards. He could make it a technical fight and he could beat you from the outside. We saw that with Guevara. So for me, he could just beat you any way, inside or out. It don't matter. Jesse Rodriguez, he got a plan for both of it. He's very good at disguising his punches. You don't see those punches coming. He's very good at hiding them and disguising them. You just don't see when they're coming. You just don't know what he's gonna throw. The other thing I will say too, one of his most dominant strengths, in my opinion, is the way he's able to cut angles. I saw one knockout where he punched a guy. Next thing you know, a second later, he literally was behind him. The guy turned around, he clipped him with an uppercut and dropped him. And I looked at it, I was like, this just isn't fair. Like, it's just not fair when you're going up against this guy. Because, like, I'm sorry. That's elite. Like that actually that's not even elite. That's like Hall of Fame skill right there. Cause you don't get that a lot. Like and especially and the thing is too, he's not just doing it fast, because some guys they can do that and they can do it fast. And again, I'm not saying he's better than this guy. But for instance, if you go back to the Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios prediction episode I did with Anthony, I talked about how Manny Pacquiao he would throw these punches and he would cut the angle while he's throwing punches. But you could tell with Manny Pacquiao he was wild. Jesse Rodriguez does that, but in a way that's so smooth that the opponent doesn't even realize he did it. Jesse Rodriguez, he really is one of the most complete fighters in the game. I really do like his right hook. I do think that's a dominant punch for him. That would be his biggest punch for me. The other thing about him too is he's battle tested. Jesse Rodriguez has been in there with some dogs. He's been in there with Sonny Edwards. He's been in there with Estrada. And he's just going to keep on fighting these guys. And he's going to keep on going out there and beating them. And on top of that, his resume is still growing. Cafu's going to be another champion on his resume. Once he's done with Cafu, he's going to go straight to Martinez. This guy, he's not stopping. He had one, and I don't mind what he did with Guevara because we knew he was going to be back in the track to being a championship fighter. And he was going to go back on the track to fighting these championship guys. So for me, he's just absolutely incredible. I think he's already an established complete fighter. He's got a deadly left. The other thing about him too is leverage. He cuts angles, but sometimes if you ever look at Jesse Rodriguez, he also uses like pure strength. So like for instance, like he'll cut those angles, but you'll also see him give the guy a little bit of a push. Or you'll also see him kind of give him a little shove. And that's what I like about Jesse Rodriguez. He's using leverage. He's using his body to basically put his opponent in a certain way. Again, I know, sounded sus. Get your heads out the gutter. But regardless, y'all know what I'm talking about. Basically, he uses his body to establish leverage, and he uses that to land some dominant punches on his opponents. Now, as far as some weaknesses with Jesse Rodriguez. As I was watching, there were a few, and I had to go back to some of the fights that were competitive. So Estrada would be one, but I found most of his weaknesses actually against Sonny Edwards, and I feel like him and Sonny Edwards they had a very very great fight. But at the same time, because there was so much brawling, you could pick apart some weaknesses with Bam. So for me, the biggest weakness that I found, this was from the Estrada fight, straights and jabs back him up, and I feel like that to me is the two combinate is the little combination that is going to keep Jesse Rodriguez at bay is that straight and that jab. He's great at getting to the inside, but again, when you see a straight or a jab, if you ever watch him, just watch how he handles. Go back to the Estrada fight and watch how he handles the straight or the jab when Estrada throws it. He backs up, and to me, that is something that could work in Cafu's favor. And once we get to the breakdown of Cafu, it's all going to make sense. He can get caught in the middle of exchanges. Again, because he wanted to make this such a brawl with Sonny Edwards. Sonny Edwards had moments where he would clip him in the exchanges. Now, obviously, Jesse Rodriguez controlled most of that fight, and then obviously the knockdown in round 10 happened and they stopped the fight. But overall, if you go and you look at that Sonny Edwards fight, when they were brawling in the middle, they had exchanges. They were both piecing each other up. And in my opinion, I feel like sometimes in Jesse Rodriguez's mind, he knows what combination he wants to throw. And I feel like because his opponent might have a counter for it. They're able to clap back and basically clip him with something. Sometimes you can split the guard, and especially that high guard down the middle. Sometimes you can split those gloves, and again, you can start throwing those straights. You can start landing those straights against Bam Rodriguez. Check hooks always work. I feel like check hooks is a good way to kind of take the momentum away from Jesse Rodriguez. And I will say this: if you have elite footwork, you got a shot. I will say he's great on the outside and he's great on the inside. I favor him on the outside and the inside. But again, if you're somebody with great footwork, I do believe that you have a shot. That fight against Sonny Edwards had a shot. The problem is with Sonny Edwards, he stayed in the pocket. He brawled with him. They made an amazing fight. And at the end of the day, Jesse Rodriguez won it. But he had a shot. And I feel like if you got elite footwork, if you can basically control that footwork, if you can control the spacing, I believe you got a shot against Jesse Rodriguez. But again, saying that and doing it against Jesse Rodriguez is two completely different things. It's easier said than done, put it that way. And so now, with that being said, we go straight to Cafu. Now, Cafu 11 and 0, 8 knockouts. And this is a guy who kind of was unknown until he fought Tanaka. And Tanaka is a very respectable Japanese boxer. Tanaka got upsetted by Cafu. And in that fight, Cafu dropped Tanaka clean. And this is a guy who's got some pop in his punch, and I said he has a shot. And I said in the beginning of the episode, could this be the guy to defeat Jesse Rodriguez? And even though Jesse Rodriguez has the favorable outcome, there is a reason why I proposed that question. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but I'm going to pass it on to Breezy, and I'm going to have him basically give the breakdown for Cafu.
Cafu. What I'll say about Cafu is Cafu has a really nice established jab. When he's in that outside, he's putting that jab on him. And a lot of time he's backing those fighters up. Like Mario just stated, he has pop in those punches. He has pop in both of his punches, actually. And just like with Ben Rodriguez, like Cafu, you cannot run up throwing anything to him. Cafu can catch you at any given time with any shot. And one thing I will say about Cafu, I like the way how he's able to slip and go under punches and come back up and counter them. That's one of his biggest strengths I've seen him do. And a lot of times it leads to him getting, impressive power shots off on guys because a lot of times he's sitting at the inside in the middle. Now, one thing I will say about Cafu, I don't know how, but for some apparent reason, when he's on that back foot fighting, he tends to have better opportunities with getting those hooks off. But anytime he's sitting in that pocket, in the middle, in the inside, and he's throwing these wild hooks, he's getting countered. I want y'all to pay attention to what I'm saying. He's able to get those jabs off, he's able to get those hooks off, and he's able to land those shots. But when he's sitting in the inside, when he's sitting in that pocket, for some apparent reason, he's not able to get those hooks off. And I see him at times getting countered. And when he throws the hooks, it's like he throws his whole body into it. That is a weakness. If you're going to get somebody like a Ben Rodriguez, You don't want to be trying to throw all your shots like that because that's an easy counter for Ben Rodriguez. Another thing is too, he tries to have the guard and he tries to throw those punches off with the guard too, and ends up catching punches. This is a fight where he has to be really defensively sound. My best thing I would say for his strengths is to keep his jab. Mario just told y'all one of the things that keeps Bam backed up and conscious and hesitant is jab. If he can stay outside and keep that jab on and also go to the body too, because he can go to the body. I've seen him go to the body. As long as he can keep that jab and go to the body, I think he'll have some real good success in this fight. But I don't suggest him to try to sit in the pocket like he does in his past fights and try to dish out those hooks. Those hooks is what I'm really concerned about. Because for some apparent reason, it's only when he's standing still in the pocket trying to throw those hooks where he doesn't have that success. And so that would be my breakdown of Cafu.
Already touched up on one of the strengths that Cafu has that could also be a weakness for Jesse Bam Rodriguez. I'm gonna say one thing about Cafu. His right hand is very versatile. Check hook, and specifically the left check hook. Now, like I said, check hooks they can work against Bam Rodriguez if you use them correctly. So there's one strength that you have that you could use in this fight. You got quick feet. I've said it before. If you have elite footwork, you got a shot against Bam Rodriguez. You have quick feet. Now, I'm not gonna say he's got elite footwork. I'm not gonna say that, but I will say this: it is definitely a strength that he has. He's a good counterpuncher. Now, what I will say about Cafu, when he dropped Tanaka, he dropped him with that straight, and Tanaka didn't see it coming. And Tanaka got dropped completely. And again, these Japanese boxers, they're better than what people think. A lot of them are champions, and a lot of them, especially in those lighter weight classes, Japanese boxers aren't the ones to mess with. And he went into Japan and he defeated Tanaka. Now, he knocked down Tanaka after that fight. You can make an argument as whether or not he won that fight. If you go back and watch the rest of it, Tanaka was kind of piecing him up. But the question is, how is Tanaka piecing him up? And that's where we get to the weaknesses. But before we get to the weaknesses, I will say this. Cafu has the strengths to defeat Jesse Rodriguez. I want people to understand that. I don't want people to just to watch this fight and see Jesse Rodriguez and think Jesse Rodriguez is just going to dominate. Don't be surprised if Jesse Rodriguez is behind on those scorecards. I'm gonna say that right now. Do not be surprised if Jesse Rodriguez is behind on those scorecards, at least for the first 2 to 3 rounds, because Cafu does have those strengths to get him behind on those scorecards. Now, am I saying that's what's gonna happen? No. But what I am saying is it's definitely a possibility. So now the weaknesses. You mentioned how those hooks they just don't work when he's staying still and he's on the inside. The problem with that is, and the reason why is because his weakness is he struggles on the inside. Once Tanaka was able to get to the inside on Cafu, he just started dominating. He really clipped him with some good shots, and I was surprised Cafu didn't go down. And even that, go back to and just watch the last round. Give it maybe 10 more seconds, Cafu probably would have hit the canvas. But the bell rang. They gave Cafu the decision. Now, again, whether or not Cafu actually won that fight or not, that's for y'all to judge. But overall, he struggles on the inside. He gets caught by hooks in between exchanges. Again, that's the same weakness that Jesse Bam Rodriguez has when they're both throwing exchanges. Now, again, I think Cafu is more likely to get caught than Jesse Rodriguez. But the problem is when they're both going through exchanges, when they both decide that we're just gonna be selfish, or we're gonna lay it all out there. We're gonna get a little bit risky. They both get caught with some exchanges. It happened with Cafu with Tanaka. It happened with Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards. So overall, when you look at that, that's a similar weakness that both guys have. So then, on top of that, you look at the other weaknesses for Cafu. The last one I would say is he sometimes loses patience and composure. And in my opinion, in this fight against Jesse Rodriguez, you need both of those things. You need patience and you need composure. And I feel like there's some points in fights where he loses that patience and composure. And that's when he wants to get onto the inside. And that's when he starts getting clipped. And that's when basically he leaves himself vulnerable, especially when he drops that guard. And so for me, that would be the strengths and the weaknesses for Cafu. And even though he's got those strengths, and I do believe that he has the potential to be ahead on these cards if he really plays his P's and Q's. He has the potential to be ahead on those cards. He has those strengths, but at the same time, he's also got the weaknesses that Jesse Rodriguez can exploit. And so, before we get to the betting odds, I need to ask you, Breezy. We're going to start off with Jesse Rodriguez. Give me three keys to victory for Jesse Rodriguez. If Jesse Rodriguez does this, he will win. What would those three keys be for you?
Basically, take the jab away. Slip under that jab, go to his body, break him down. Another thing too is when he tried to throw those wild hooks, catch him in between there. He's been hurt and he can be hurt, and you have the power to get him up out of there. So basically, what it is, anytime he tries to make any kind of slip up mess ups, counter him. So I think this would be the perfect fight for Bam to really rely on that counter punching because he's looking to probably come in there and trying to get up on the scorecards, use that jab, try to make Bam feel those power punches earlier. When I think early on in the fight, just like you said, I think Cafu's gonna have those successive rounds in the early rounds. But I think after a while, Bam is gonna eventually pick it up. And I think all he has to really do is just watch out for that jab. Watch out for the jab. He's going to jab. He's going to try to keep you and not outside. He's going to try to keep you at bay. Slip under that jab. Watch that jab. Go to his body early. Watch what I tell y'all. If he go to this body early, watch how different this fight is going to look.
I like those. I think for the keys to victory, what I had for Jesse Rodriguez is work onto the inside. You want to make it an inside fight with Cafu because I feel like that's going to be your best chance to have a dominant win. Catch him with the right hook during flurries or during exchanges, like you said. I would prefer the right hook. You catch him with that hook, but even the left hook, you can catch him with that too. The right hook to me is a more powerful punch for me, so I'm gonna go right hook. And then last but not least, force him to overshoot. So basically, forcing him to overshoot, you could throw some feints. You can throw a nice 2-3 punch combination, get him frustrated, have him kind of be a little bit too aggressive, have him take a risk, and then from there, that's when you can basically take over the fight. You can counterpunch him and you can potentially drop him or stop him. So those to me would be the keys to victory for Jesse Rodriguez. Now, the keys to victory for Cafu, what would those be, Breezy? How is Cafu going to upset Bam Rodriguez in this fight?
Keep that jab on Bam. And in fact, you said that for Bam to make Cafu to overshoot. I would say for Cafu, make Bam overshoot. Because you do well fighting on the back foot. If you can get Bam to come towards you and you can counter him on that back foot, you can drop Bam and you can. I think as long as he keep that jab on him and he counters Bam all night, I don't think he has a problem with going to the scorecards. He might even hurt or even drop Bam. So keep Bam at bay with your jab. Fight him on that back foot. Lead him into set up traps for him. And not only that too, but try to get some punches off in the exchanges too, because Bam is gonna try to come with some fast punches. You don't want to just sit there in defensive mode. So try to get you some punches in during the exchange. And like I said, just keep him off that keep him at the front of your jab and just set traps up because at some point by you keeping that jab at him, that's going to want to make Bam want to approach you even more. He's going to look to be trying to cut the ring off and try to break you down to the body. So just basically keep him at the end of your jab and basically try to set up those traps as he's trying to approach you.
So for me, I do agree with you on the jab. Basically, for Cafu, work that jab. That would be the first key. I feel like if you can work that jab, you can keep Jesse at bay. You have a good shot to at least control the pace. The second thing I will say is split the high guard. Like I said, if you can use that jab and straight to split Jesse's guard, that could also open up some things as well. And then last but not least, use your footwork to set up combos. Basically, you can use your footwork. Jesse could miss a punch and you can hit him with one. You're not going to win a round with one punch against Jesse Rodriguez. You're going to need a bunch. Now, again, as far as the exchanges, I do agree you mix up the exchange, but I think he needs to do it a little bit more cautiously. I think he needs to do it a little bit more technically and meticulously. So for me, I would say you use your footwork, you set Jesse up, and then basically when Jesse misses, that's when you land your 2-3 punch combination. To me, not only are you controlling the ring, but you're also having good offense against Jesse Rodriguez, and that is what's going to give the judges, that's what's going to lean the judges towards your favor in order to give you that round. You're going to need the rounds. Put it that way. You're going to need the rounds to defeat Jesse Rodriguez. You can't just rely on hitting him with a clean shot and knocking him out. It's not going to work that way. You need to rely on the rounds. So for me, those would be the three keys to victory for Cafu. And so we head to the betting odds, Breezy, and I know you love the betting odds. This is where we make people money. So Jesse Rodriguez is a minus 2,400 favorite, while Cafu is a plus 1180 underdog. Wide odds right there. I mean, Hey, those odds. I mean, that is like a whole river wide of odds right there. It's basically saying it's Jesse Rodriguez's fight game over. Now, the most likely method of victory is going to be Jesse Rodriguez by KO. The least likely method of victory, that's even less likely to happen in a draw, is Cafu at plus 2,800 for a decision. Now, remember when I told y'all that Cafu got a chance to win this fight? Well, it ain't gonna happen during knockout. He's not knocking out Bam Rodriguez. If he's gonna win this fight, it's gonna happen by decision. It will happen if he's going to win this fight. It's gonna happen by decision. So if y'all want to take a risk and put a bet on Cafu, I'm not saying Cafu's gonna win. As a matter of fact, that's not what I'm saying. But if you want to take that risk, bet the decision because he's not knocking out Jesse Bam Rodriguez. If you want to take that risk, put Cafu for decision. And if somehow the impossible happens, you're gonna bank. If somehow it's like an Andy Ruiz type situation with Anthony Joshua, you bet $5 or $10, you are gonna make money. So I will say if you're gonna take that risk, go with Cafu. But why do I say it's a risk? Because I got Jesse Rodriguez by seventh round KO. What I think is gonna happen is I think Cafu is gonna take those early rounds. I think he's gonna take those early rounds. I think he might take like the first two out of three. And we're gonna be like, wow, we're really starting to see the commentators are gonna say we're really starting to see Rodriguez kind of get exposed a little bit. But I feel like Jesse Rodriguez is the type of fighter that he can adapt to anything. He's a championship fighter. He can adapt to anything. And I think come the fourth or fifth round, we're gonna see Rodriguez light it up. And then come the seventh round, that's when he's gonna stop Cafu. So I'm gonna go seventh round, TKO, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. But now we pass it on to Breezy. First of all, Breezy, would you recommend taking a risk on this fight as far as betting? And overall, at the end of that, what would be your prediction?
What I tell y'all to bet on Cafu, y'all know me by now, okay? You better not bet on Cafu, okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. I know he told y'all that would be, you make a whole lot of money, but let's keep it sensible now, okay? Okay. So what's funny is I actually got Ben Rodriguez by 7 round too. That's what's funny. The way I see it happening, it's like Mario said, Kafu is gonna be taking those early rounds, and I think somewhere in the 7th round, Kafu gonna get too complacent, and Bam gonna hit him with a body shot and catch him up to the top, and he gonna take a knee. Either he gonna take a knee or he gonna like sit down, and then ref gonna be counting, and then we're gonna be like, is he gonna get up? Is he gonna get up? Kafu ain't gonna make the count, and the ref gonna rave it off. He gonna get a right at the last second, and the ref gonna wave it off. I think that's exactly how the TKO gonna happen. I think that's exactly how it's gonna happen. I think he's gonna go in there. He gonna get too comfortable. He gonna be like, okay, I got this. I got this. He ain't got nothing for me. 7th round, Bam gonna slip that jab, catch him to the body, and come up to the head. He gonna fall straight down, and he gonna have a hard time trying to get up, and the referee gonna rave the fight off in the 7th round. That's exactly how I see it going.
Look, man, if there's a guy that could do that impressive a knockout, it's Jesse Bam Rodriguez. I mean, he's had his knockouts are insane. Like it's almost like you really look at them and you're like, how did he do that? Like, how did he even find like the time to do that? He's just absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, I agree. Seventh round KO, TKO. I think that's how it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be kind of similar to Estrada because the judges had Estrada winning that fight before he got knocked out. And honestly, Estrada was losing that fight before he knocked down Bam. So there's that. But overall. I honestly think that this is going to end in a knockout. But the reason why I say take that risk is because, like I said, there is some type of possibility there. He does have the strengths, like I said, to upset Bam Rodriguez. So if you want to take that risk, feel free. If you want, but the safe bet is most likely going to happen. Jesse Rodriguez by KO. And with that being said, Breezy, wrap up this episode. You do the outro. You already did a million times before. Take it away.
Y'all know what the deal is. Let your mama know. Let your girlfriend know. Let your pastor know. Let your teacher know. Let your neighbor know that the Puncher's Point is still on and we still active. And we is still dropping these bombs of episodes on y'all. Y'all need to stay tuned in. Y'all need to keep liking, sharing, and commenting. And without further ado, y'all know what the deal is. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.